Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Broncos. As you guys can see, we have a very special guest today. It's Andrew from the Pick a Side podcast. We're covering basketball, football, but I thought it'd be fun to have Andrew on today. He's a big Broncos fan and somebody that covers not just the Broncos, but the entire scape of the NFL. Big Tua fan for those that
I am.
How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I appreciate you guys having me on the show. I feel like I'm officially ingrained with Broncos country. Of course, let's talk Broncos. I'm ready to have a great time with you guys, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh, without question, of course. Like I said, big fan of your show. I highly suggest everybody go follow Andrew on Twitter, and I'll make sure to drop that in the comments during the duration of this. So make sure you're going and follow him on Twitter. I know Broncos country. He's a good follow. So definitely go do that.
Speaking of, how are you doing with avoiding the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift Halloween costume combo? That's something that a lot of us boyfriends in Broncos country are having to dodge right now.
You know, it's so funny you say that because I just kind of sent that out because Twitter knows I hate Kansas City.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to do my best to be nice to all these players. Kansas City is the one team I allow no leeway with. So my girlfriend, she's not huge in sports. She's not really huge in sports at all. But she sends me that message. Immediately, I had to put it on Twitter. I was not expecting it to go that crazy, for it to get almost 1,000 likes, a bunch of retweets. But I told her, listen, you messed up. You made a mistake. You know I don't like the Chiefs, but this was punishment enough. You didn't deserve the repercussions that came with that tweet. But again, she knows better. No Kansas City Chief costume for me. No way, no how.
Yeah, bro, it was so funny because my girl was literally saying the exact same thing to me an hour before I saw that tweet. It's absurd. Like, you would think they know you.
That's it. The thought process stops. She's like, oh, he likes football. Yeah. I like Taylor Swift. The two will go together so perfectly. Just
my dumbass thought. My dumbass brought it up to my girlfriend. I was like, man, I saw this funny exchange on Twitter. I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm doing that. And she was like, oh, no, but that's a great idea. And I'm like, it's the worst idea. I would sooner die. She goes,
a podcast named Let's Talk Broncos. You have to know no Kansas City Chiefs are allowed.
She suggested, like, okay, well, how about you dress up as the racist she was dating before Travis Kelce? And I'm like, that's worse. That's frankly worse.
So much worse. So much worse.
Yeah, my girl said, why don't you dress up as Jason Kelce? I'm like, but that doesn't make sense. Like, can we make that one make sense? Anyway,
I like that. It's like a little infidelity. It's good. I think that's the right
storyline. Anyways, man, I want to get into it. The Broncos obviously lost again. It's Broncos Monday, which means Broncos therapy for the Let's Talk Broncos listeners. It's every single Monday. It's getting too much familiar with us, man. It's been forever. And as our listeners know, every Monday we do the good and bad and ugly of that last game. And Andrew, I want to start off with you, and I want to get straight into the good. Give me some good right off the bat. What did you just give us some confidence, man? What can I be happy with after that game?
All right, after the game, I have four good things. One of them being our jerseys looked really cool. I really was a fan. I love the whiteout. I love what we did with the field, with the whiteout end zone. That was fantastic. Jaleel McLaughlin, he looks like he could be a nice young piece for us. Was extremely efficient on the ground. Shows to be a very nice pass catcher, a nice reliable option for Russell Wilson. I'm pretty happy with that. PlayStation 2. I mean, Pat Surtain continues to be the best corner in football, locking down another elite receiver and getting that interception at the very almost the end of the game, stopping that drive, saving us from giving up 3 points. Why are you trying, Surtain? That's what I want to understand. I'm praying to the good Lord. He does not move on. We do not trade him. I need some sanity. I need to be happy at all. No. Let me brag about having the best corner in football just a little while longer, please. And lastly, another game closer to you guys have it right there, to Caleb Williams and Drake May. It's unfortunate because if you guys know, I do a show with two other Jets fans. So I am not looking forward to sitting down tomorrow and recording that full length, because this one was personal, not just because of, Jets and Broncos interaction preseason, But again, I do a podcast with 2 other guys that were blowing up my phone nonstop. So again, let's stay with the good. We live to see another day and potentially get a Caleb, potentially get a Drake, and who I would love if we don't get either of those 2 guys, Mr. Marvin Harrison Jr.
Hey, Andrew, I got a follow-up question for you. Do you think it's realistic that the Broncos, do you think they're bad enough where they can get the first or second pick, or do you think they kind of fall out of that?
Our defense is really so bad
Yeah.
that it leads me only to believe that we really can be in contention. I don't know if we are Panthers bad. I think the Panthers are, as of right now, the worst team in football just because both sides are so bad. Where you look at us, our offense still has some bright spots to it. Sean Payton, although did not have the best of games yesterday, Sean Payton's still a solid play caller. We still were, prior to this week, I believe, top 11, top 12 in terms of total offensive yards. Russell Wilson has looked very solid. We have some nice pieces on the outside in Judy and Sutton, who has had better days. I'm trying to stay with the good. But again, I don't know per se if we're going to be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, but it feels pretty certain at this point in time. I'm feeling confident we're a top 5 team. And I say confident very loosely, where I don't feel proud to say that, but just living in a realistic mindset, that's going to be where we're at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's. I think the Bears were the team that was thrown out as the squad that was worse than the Broncos. And after seeing what they did to Washington on Thursday night, I don't feel that way anymore. And frankly, I think they keep saying it, but I think they outplayed the Broncos on last Sunday. The Broncos were just lucky to come away with the win there. The Patriots are coming off of 2 stinkers, but I think they'll get things somewhat sorted. They're another one where both sides of the ball are looking pretty bad right now. At least the defense isn't exceptional. It's good. They're like the defensive version of the Broncos, where I think the defense is good and the offense is terrible. The Broncos kind of have a good offense and a terrible defense. I'm with you on the Panthers. But I think they're going to be in the sweepstakes. I don't know if they'll win the sweepstakes, but up until that, I don't know what games they win. You look at the next 4 games for this team. You got the Chiefs twice, the Bills once, and the Packers. I mean, I think if you're a realistic fan and you've seen these first 5 games, you're hoping this team, and you're not hoping for a Tampa, like the best record you could possibly hope for is like 2-7 through 9 weeks.
You're just doing the W and L's on the schedule. That's pretty much what it comes out to there.
If you beat a Packers team that, they've been struggling, but they absolutely look better than the Broncos. Yeah, they smacked the Bears. So how about that? This struggling Packers team went into Soldier Field and smacked the Bears up and down the field.
Yeah, and that's just even without Zach, them we're talking about a trade deadline team where it looks like, hey, the Broncos might be moving off of pieces. If you think this Broncos team is going to get better, more than likely they're going to get worse. They're going to trade away their talent. But hey, you know what? I said we were going to start off with good. We always end up doing this after a Broncos loss. We're venting. Zach, give me your good, man. Lighten the mood.
The young pass rush, specifically Nick Benito. I talked about on my stock up. They got 4 sacks yesterday. It's Zach Wilson. He's going to help the defense out some with those, but
right.
It was a big step forward. They entered this week 32nd in the NFL in pass rush win rate. I haven't seen the new data yet. But I do want to mention that stat just because temper your, but George Payton built a great edge room. They're 32nd in pass rush win rate. I do think there's some exciting young pieces and the future is looking brighter there. Nick Benito is 12th, I think right now. He's 11th. And I listed off the top 10 list last episode, so I won't do it again, but it's the guys that ahead of him are like Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Nick Bosa. There's a couple weird ones, but it's the elite pass rushers. I think he's taken a huge step this year. If you ask me what I thought the ceiling for Nick Benito was this season, it wouldn't have been playing this well. He is not only outperformed my expectation, outperformed my best hopes for him in year 2. I could see him being a legitimate number 2 option. Entering this season, Joey and I were talking about how we think he's going to max out as a rotational player. So I don't know. I'm happy there. That's a premium position. Finding some answers there, unearthing something there. Hopefully Browning is also something later on this season once he gets back on the field. That would be huge for at least providing you some sort of defensive foundation moving forward, because right now there isn't one. It's one player in the secondary. And okay, look at the New York Giants. Secondary and offensive line are units defined by their weaknesses, not their strengths, right? The New York Giants have Andrew Thomas, one of the very best tackles in the league. The other 4 guys are bad, and they have the worst offensive line in the league. That's the Broncos secondary right now. It's not that extreme. You still got Simmons, and it's not the worst secondary in the league, but Patrick Surtain and I don't know. It's not getting the job done. They don't have any defensive foundation right now. Finding some pass rushers would provide one.
Andrew, how do you feel about the edge rushers or the defensive line of this Broncos unit? Is there anyone that's not tradable?
That's not tradable? Probably not. I mean, at this point, the only player on the defense that I want to hold on to is PlayStation 2. If we trade PS2, I will be distraught. And I tweeted this jokingly, but semi-serious. I might have to take a leave indefinitely. This is the one bright spot on our team, and already so young into his career. He's regarded by most as the best in the game, and trading that away is something that I just can't sit right with, especially understanding how difficult it is to come across such an elite talent at that position. In my opinion, the second hardest position to play in football behind the quarterback. But on the edge rush, I think that anybody can go. Zach Allen had himself a solid game yesterday, but with Baron Browning come into the season banged up, it really was tough for me because I love what I saw from him last season. I had high expectations for him. Of course, whenever he was going to come back from the injury, at this point, I'm not sure when that's exactly going to be. But I think Barron's talented enough. I would love to hold on to Barron. He's one of those that gave me some peace of mind after he moved on from Chubb. And he showed some flashes last season. But at this point, I don't know if really anyone is quote unquote untouchable. We really should be very active.
I totally agree. And that's not even mentioning, like, I think everybody thought that Randy Gregory would prove to be a better defender this season than he was.
For sure.
Injuries suck. That's the takeaway I have for most Broncos seasons. Not as much this one, but all the other ones is like, hey, Randy Gregory was a baller when he played last year. He was an actual difference maker for this team. Comes into this year, just another massive injury for the guy, and he doesn't look the same, and it sucks. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I would trade anybody, I think, across on the defense, damn near, except for PS2. That's the only guy. My good though, guys. You see it on the graphic. I'm going to piggyback off of what Andrew said earlier. I'm going Caleb. We're a day closer to maybe the Broncos having a top 2 pick in this NFL draft. Caleb Williams or Drake May, and honestly, I don't think either are bad. I've watched every single game. I rewatched the game tape of both these guys, and I think there's a case to be made that Drake May is even better than Caleb Williams, even though Caleb, that's my hot take. I really do. I do think that is something. When I look at Drake May, I'm looking at it just a different version of Justin Herbert or a different version of Trevor Lawrence, which is, hey, who would want that? So I think either or, if the Broncos can end up with either of them, you got to hope that someone there at 2, because right now, if you were to look at it, the Broncos would have the 3rd pick. Someone at 2, hopefully they don't need a quarterback. Maybe they go out and draft a Marvin Harrison Jr. or one of those tackles or something like that.
Yeah.
Have either of you guys watched the quarterbacks, or you guys have any thoughts on these guys?
I honestly kind of agree with you. I still think Caleb Williams is QB1, but there is some, I think, validity to what you're saying. I'll make the kind of, I don't know, little hot takey breakdown of why maybe Drake May's QB1. I think you look at or not hot takey, that's just an unfair comparison, but Zach Wilson became the number 2 overall pick because people saw what he was doing at BYU and they were going, oh my God, that looks like Patrick Mahomes. This is so exciting. He could be the next Patrick Mahomes. And I think that was always, Caleb Williams is so much better than that. Like, he's actually operating against pressure. Zach Wilson never had to do that. Like, he's a much better prospect, but it does feel a little reminiscent to me that, like, the playmaking stuff with Caleb Williams is out of this world. The in structure stuff hasn't been there yet. at least at a high enough level or at a high enough rate that makes you feel really confident? And will he be able to thrive off of out of structure, the crazy playmaking stuff at the NFL level? He's so damn talented. I kind of think he will be, but it is a scary aspect of it. While Drake May, like, he's got his own quirks, but man, it's Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. Like Joey said, you watch him and it's very easy to like picture him at the NFL level. He's got the tools. He does a better job, I think, in structure than Caleb Williams.
Well, Caleb Williams' offense, I don't want to interrupt, but Caleb Williams, much of Caleb Williams' offense, and I watched every game of both these guys so far this year, and this is a prop, like a pro to Caleb, but also kind of a negative when you're evaluating to the NFL level. Their offense is like, all right, we're gonna run. Fuck it, we're running 4 verts. Caleb, make a play, bro. Like that's what they're out there doing a lot of the time. Yeah. And it's like, okay, I like it. Like USC's good. He's better than all these other guys. Like I agree with you. Hey, if I was running a college program, I'd probably do the same thing. I love Hail Mary. That's great. But in the NFL, like, does that work? I guess that's my thing.
It's the out of structure plays that really just automatically they stand out to the eye. And that's essentially Caleb Williams' bread and butter. That's what makes him so special. His arm on top of it is also one of a kind. Yeah. I understand where you guys are where you guys are coming from. It's the idea of with Caleb Williams, he's that Kyler Murray, of course, let's not say Patrick Mahomes because we understand whether I like to admit it or not. He's a one-of-one talent, but of course, that's that prototype. When you look at a Drake May, you guys already mentioned it. You see Herbert, Trevor Lawrence. Of course, those are the 2 guys that do come to mind. He has an amazing presence in the pocket, has a tremendous arm, tremendous accuracy. It's really tough to go wrong with either of these 2. Understanding the Broncos' offensive line situation, I automatically lean with the guy that creates out of structure. But just for conversation purposes, let's say we unfortunately strike out with these 2. Are you guys upset at us getting Marvin Harrison at 3? Would that be worst case scenario for us where I look at this wide receiver room and yesterday stands out to me so much? Again, this is good. Marvin Harrison coming to the Broncos, in my opinion, this would be a good thing where Sutton is just not the guy that we thought he would be, especially after what he showed us in 2019. He has been injured. That's fair to him, but he's just not that guy. Lacks separation ability and really lacks consistency. Jerry Jeudy. I love Jerry. He's been one of my favorite players. It's unfortunate that we can't see him consistently do it because he always has something going on with him injury-wise. And he's, in my opinion, I think he's our best receiver. I'm sure I'm not the only one that believes that, but it's a matter of getting him on the field. But Marvin makes people really respect us now, where you have Marvin, you have Jeudy to complete, where you have the more route technician. Of course, Marvin's a one-of-one generational talent. He can do a little bit of everything. I think our team needs some juice. It needs some firepower, and that would be Marvin Harrison. Pairing him with Russ, I don't think that's the worst thing. He needs a big play guy.
Yeah.
No, now I don't think personally I'm of the opinion that they need to get rid of Russ after this year just because of how his contract works. The dead cap hit getting rid of him this season is the same as getting rid of him next season. It might actually even slightly go up. And that's the one thing for me, like I don't know. I want to get off this carousel the Broncos have been on. Now, that said, I think you could do it with Sidham. That's not the most exciting option, but just as a 1-year Band-Aid. I know the Broncos don't want another 1-year Band-Aid, but I'm telling you guys, hopefully this is the last one. You get up high in 2025. You take Shedeur Sanders, the most Sean Payton quarterback ever, and now you're cooking because you've got the weapons. You've got the infrastructure in place. I don't think that's a bad path either. I think the big takeaway, at least from the Jets game, from everything, and I think it's good for Broncos country ultimately and good for this organization ultimately, is they're finally accepting they have a problem. For too long, it's been, well, okay, but like Trevor Simeon's not the guy, but Case Keenum, look at what he just did with the Vikings. You get that guy in here and we're probably we'll compete for the 6th seed. We're not winning a Super Bowl with Case Keenum, but we'll compete for a 6th seed. And then it's like, nope, they're 6-10. or 6-11 or whatever. And then, okay, well, Case Keenum wasn't the guy, but Joe Flacco. And then we draft, we don't love this draft class, but we'll take a flyer on a guy in the second round and it'll work out. And then that didn't go. And then, okay, well, we need to do head coach because Vance Joseph isn't it. Let's throw Vic Fangio in here. And then he's not it. And Russell Wilson, save us, please. And he's not it. And then, oh my God, Sean Payton, save us, please. It's always been like one or two people having to save the Broncos. And that's not, they will not become a winner of any meaningful substance. Like, I think they could run it back with Russell Wilson and go 9-8, maybe 10-7 and get ousted in the first round, like last year's Vikings. Or I guess the Giants, or no, they won that game against, I forget who won that game. But Vikings and Giants, it applies to both of them, no matter who won that playoff game. I think they could have a season like that. It's just, then you're going to have the hangover after that season. And is that season really worth the hangover that's going to follow? I think just get all the bad out now and set up a foundation for the future. Marvin Harrison Jr. would do that. That makes it a lot more exciting for 2025, whether that be a quarterback or maybe a different veteran option comes available. That seems to be kind of a regular thing in the new NFL. And I think that trend could keep up. Broncos fans probably don't want to take another Russell Wilson gamble. I don't blame them, but there's avenues now where for me, it's not quarterback or bust in 2024. If May or Williams are staring at you, I'm like, take the quarterback. But
or even
I'm fine if they take Harrison Jr. or Fashanu. Like you just made the comment about the offensive line and how he feels shaky there. Fashanu is, God, I'm going to butcher the kids. He's like 22 or 21 right now. He's going to be super young when he enters the draft. He is a baby and advanced beyond his years as an offensive tackle. I'm not the best offensive tackle scouter. Joey knows the position better than I do, but I don't know. I think there's so many options at the top of this draft. Like even Jared Verse, who is where I think the teardrop is. It's like the two quarterbacks, those two skill players, and then like Jared Verse is the fifth option. Even that would like juice up a pass rushing group, maybe give you a true 1A pass rusher. Now Nick Benito can be your 1B. Cooper can fit into a rotational role, and now you're cooking with something on the edge.
Yeah. Well, guys, if you can't tell, we're tired of this season. Get us out of this.
It's draft. It's an hour of draft already.
No, but that was good. That was good. So let's move on into the bad for that game, and then we got ugly after that. Andrew, I'm gonna start off with you again. What is the bad? What's like kind of that middle tier of just like, yeah, this wasn't very good.
Yeah, this was hard to break down where I'm automatically in ugly mode, but I say bad because our rush defense continues to be one of the worst in the league. And I already anticipated Breece Hall coming in here, especially after the report that the handcuffs were off. We're finally going to see a full workload for Breece Hall. He was unbelievable. If you take away the 72-yard touchdown, he still averages over 5.7 carry. And it's tough for me where I'm upset that the Broncos lost and Breece killed us. But I am happy for Breece where the comeback story is great. He had himself a great performance. It's just unfortunate that it came against us, of course. But we're just going to be the league's punching bag for the rest of the season with the way that things are turning out. But yeah, Breece being as great as he was, to me, that's just bad because I anticipated that already. Our offensive line, it continues to struggle for me. 23 pressures we allow, 15 hurries, 4 sacks. We invested a lot into this offensive line to get very little in return. I get Russ, sometimes he's a bit indecisive, is trying to make more than what he should have. But yesterday was tough to sit through. Of course, we understand the Jets' defensive line, defense as a whole is great and honestly elite.
Yeah.
But it just continues to just break us apart every single week. And lastly, the receivers. Courtland Sutton, I already mentioned it before when I said that I won't be upset if we take a Marvin Harrison at 3. That's a great consolation prize in my opinion. But Courtland Sutton continues to just be underwhelming. 1 catch for 13 yards. And that catch was in the second to last drive of the game where we had a chance to score. So, hey, maybe you want to say it was clutch, but Sauce Gardner just had his way. The defense as a whole had their way. He just cannot separate. He can't seem to get open consistently, and it's been killing us. And Marvin Mims, who's been one of the lone bright spots of this team, not 1 but 2 fumbles that just were costly. One allowed the Jets, I think both actually allowed the Jets to get points on the board. There was no consistency with this team whatsoever. And Marvin, again, who has been great for us in terms of advanced statistics, Marvin has been at the top of a ton of those stats. But for him to turn the ball over as much as he did, it hurt to see.
Yeah. Zach, what do you got there?
I mean, I'll tag team the wide receivers. It's a problem. From what I was watching that game, and Robbie NFL, who we love, he does the film breakdowns on the channel. Or actually, no, it was Tim Jenkins who tweeted it out. Also does great Broncos film breakdowns. Talked about how watching it back, he was more disappointed with the play caller than the quarterback, and that could bear out. I haven't had a chance to look at all 22 yet. I do think it was a pretty bad performance from Peyton in the red zone and what all that, but the receivers, man, I saw so little getting open. I don't know what it looked like on broadcast, but at the game, no one was getting open. I didn't see and statistically it was a very underwhelming game for Russ, but I don't think the passing game was stuck in the mire because Russ was missing guys. Like I think about the Colts game last year, and I think we all have that image of like KJ Hamler wide open in the middle of the end zone. Like, please God, throw me a touchdown here. And Russ just not seeing him. That's not what I saw at all this week. I saw no one getting open. And I think some of that's definitely on the play caller. You look at what Kyle Shanahan does, and he does have absolute freaks, but throughout his entire tenure, all of his stops, everywhere he's ever been, his guys are open just all over the field.
Constantly.
Great separation. Even guys like Jawan Jennings, who's their least impressive
Great name.
Receiver, gets a lot of playing time. Wide open all the time. Sean Payton, I think he has done a great job designing this offense for the most part, and you see the things that get you excited. But man, if you're the rare coach worth a first-round pick, get some wide receivers open for your quarterback. And also the wide receivers, I think they're relying very heavily on a third-round pick in Marvin Mims, who, he had a rookie day yesterday. Bad decision on the fair catch, missed the pitch. A bad day for the rookie. Rookies are going to have those days. You're kind of in that position because you're having to rely on him so heavily. You're also having to rely heavily on Brandon Johnson, a UDFA from the past coaching staff. That's not a place you want to be in. And I'm thrilled with how Johnson's been playing, but that's a bad spot to be in. Sutton, who I think everyone knows is like way diminished from what he once was, having to heavily rely on him. Doesn't matter that he's playing awful or there's questionable effort moments. You have to keep relying on him because you have no one else. They really need a sprucing. They're calling up practice squad guys every week. That tells you not only what the Broncos think of their wide receiver room, what the rest of the league does. Because if any of these guys had a good game, or not even like statistically, if they showed something on tape that made a team in the NFL go, that guy could be our number 5 wide receiver, they'd be gone. And that hasn't happened once. The rest of the league doesn't think a single one of these guys the Broncos are calling up could be their number 5. And the Broncos know that too. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep sitting them on the practice squad where they can get poached. Everyone's aware of how bad it is. I can't. This roster is built so bad. There's like 2 groups I think are top 16. There's not a single group in the top 10. What are you hanging your hat on with George Payton? A couple like Patrick Surtain in 2021, and then Quinn Miners being a good guard. That's that. Great job, buddy.
Yeah, no, and Zach, that's even without their third and fourth corner there. When you're talking, or their second and third corner there, they were all the way down the Breece Hall with it was Brandon Eccles, and it was, who was the other corner out? DJ Reed. And DJ Reed's a hell of a corner. They were beaten up at that position, and still you're looking late into the game talking about, man, how many yards do our receivers have right now? That just wasn't a good
horrible
thing. It was really
terrible.
bad. And you wonder why Russ looks like he's running around like a chicken with his head cut off back there that game. 1, they have a great defensive line and they're getting after him. 2, no one's getting open. that was really the issue there. And also, like you said, I got to give some, I'm a huge Sean Payton guy, but like you said, there are routes designed to get wide receivers open. And I didn't see much of that except for Sean Payton's signature third and long screen at the wide receiver position. That's been driving me insane this whole year. But still love Sean Payton, big fan of him. Let's move into the ugly, though. And Andrew, I want to start off with you again, man. What's the worst thing you saw out there?
So now we have to sit with the fact of this season. We've lost to Jimmy Garoppolo. We've lost to Sam Howell. And now for the second time in his career, we have lost to Zach Wilson, who arguably is the worst quarterback in the National Football League. That hurts me. That hurts me for sure. Sean Payton offense, or a Sean Payton led offense, I should say, getting outperformed by the New York Jets and allowing Nathaniel Hackett to have the last laugh. This was tough for me, where I understood our defense really is the worst unit in national football. It hurts to say, but it's the truth. We got torched by Breece Hall, and that's primarily going to skew the statistics. But Zach Wilson did a job yesterday. He did have that interception in their second to last drive. That obviously was not great, was almost pretty costly if we were able to score a touchdown there. But other than that, these guys can't get open. I really can't blame, as much as I want to, of course, give some blame to Sean Payton. It's just, you were talking so much during the preseason. You said that when you get the attention all on you and you try to win the offseason, usually things don't go as planned. If you're going to talk, on top of it, don't backtrack, which what Sean Payton did, which I hated more than anything. I thought that you make a statement like that, stand on it. Give us a different way that people look at us, because for years people have been looking at us as one of the worst teams. They don't really care about us, but now we become the bad guys after a season of looking like a joke, where we were the butt of everyone's joke with Russell Wilson, and he's thrown less touchdowns than he has windows or bathrooms in his house. It would have been nice to have a change of mentality in the building. He backtracks, and then on top of it, allows the Jets, who have the inferior quarterback on the side, and of course, inferior offensive play caller. It didn't seem like that yesterday, unfortunately. And Zach was able to make big play after big play. And ugly, as much as it kills me, because I don't know if you guys know me, I love Russ. And it hurts me that last season it was just blame Russ. And it was understood he did not play well. We did not live up to expectations. It was tough. It's been great so far this season to see him be successful early on in the first half. Second half, not so much, other than the Bears game, of course. But it's been great to see him bounce back, but then fumbling at the end when everything, it just seems like we're having such a great drive. Russell Wilson looked very good as a mobile quarterback. That's something I should have mentioned in my good as well. He looked super athletic, the Russ that we thought we were getting. That was great to see, but to fumble the way that he did, them to score that touchdown, just take the life out of all Broncos fans watching, because we want a great draft pick, but we want to win. Like, there's every part of us that's watching that game. We're playing the Jets. You know that it's a rivalry. There's a lot going into that game. To come up short and to end the game like that was ugly, and it was very hard for me to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, man, I was Jets guys were inviting me on their podcast this week, and the live chat was just going crazy that whole time. Bro, I wanted to beat them so bad. I was part of like, hey, let's lose too. That's what I wanted for this season. Like, I want Caleb Williams or Drake May, except for the Jets game. I have that one circled.
So true.
Right there.
100%.
I have that one circled. I can't hack it. I mean, it just kind of sucks because the guy that couldn't bench Melvin Gordon last year the head coach that we had traded a first-round pick for. That was definitely the ugly, and that's what I have too. I guess the other thing I have, and you put this in your bat, it's just continuous for me, Andrew, and that's the run defense, man. I can't get behind this anymore. It is abysmal. And if there was one thing I thought the Broncos defense, I figured there would be some regression. But looking at paper, all right, Mike Purcell, good run defender. Zach Allen, he should be a good run defender. DJ Jones, he looks like a good run defender. Then Josie Jewell, and we got Alex Singleton. Our run defense should be pretty good this year. That's a take I had going into this season. Yep. No, it's been abysmal. Other than the Raiders game where Josh Jacobs had his first game back after missing all of training camp, the Broncos defense has been terrible stopping the run, and it only continued this week. Advice, if anybody who plays fantasy football in the chat, start whoever the hell is playing the Broncos. Like, sure. Seriously, that should just be a key. Who's getting the most carries that week? Start them. It's that bad for the run defense. Zach, what do you got?
Sorry, I had to flip back. Yeah, it's terrible. It's all bad. That's kind of what I felt. I was struggling to make this graphic. That's why I've got the Broncos fan, because I was just like, I don't know, everything. Like, I almost put a picture of the stadium because I just like it's just like, I don't know, all of it, all like every little, it's not good. I think you look at, I alluded to it earlier, but Like, what do you feel good? What is well constructed about this team moving forward? Like, Russ is playing fine, but the construction there was paying him $60 million and annually, and trading all these picks for him and everything. Like, he hasn't lived up to that. That's poor construction. I think running back is another strength of this group, but I don't know. Do we feel great about trading up, into the top 40 to take Javonte Williams right now? I think he's a good player. Is he that level of difference maker right now? And plenty of that's injury. I'm not making any final determinations, but I'm just saying right now, where we sit right now, take into account injuries, take into account the whole thing. What aspect of this roster do you feel good about? Maybe interior offensive line is what you're hanging your hat on, with Ben Powers, who looks like he's overpaid right now, and Quinn Miners, who's a good starter, and Lloyd Cushenberry, who's a good starter. But is that the best unit on this team? It's at least in the conversation. And that says a lot about the rest of this team, especially because we know how bad a lot of it is. Like, we know about, McGlinchey or some of the, we just ranted about wide receiver. And that's not even to get into the worst defense in the NFL. It's tough. It's tough. I don't mean to be, I actually think this is good, because they'll finally bottom out. I think finally you can't go, it's this one thing that's holding us back, and we fix that one thing and we're good again. No. You can't play that game anymore. I don't know. It's at the point now where I don't know if you feel overly great about Sean Payton. I feel good. I think it's maybe the part of the Broncos I feel most good about right now. But God, Hackett was 2-3 at this point, with a similarly bad roster, with way worse coaching, with Russell Wilson melting down. I don't know. And it's not like the schedule's been brutal for Sean Payton. You listed off the bad quarterbacks they've lost to. I'm definitely not sounding the alarm on Sean Payton. It's just, wow, even the things we're supposed to feel good about. Sean Payton, they've paid him a ton of money. They gave him a first-round pick. He's the head coach for at least 3 seasons. And it's like, maybe he's lost his fastball. I think it's hard to at least not have that in the back of your head at this point.
I understand where you're coming from. I just think about it, how last season was so miserable, where we are an offensive league. We understand that this is an offensive league. If you are not putting points on the board, you're going to win very minimal games. Now, our defense was otherworldly last season. We had something elite about us, which is why Nathaniel Hackett was able to win some games early on, because our defense was not allowing the other team to put up over 20 points. We were spectacular. We just could not score. We were the worst offense in football. Now, Sean Payton at least puts us in respectable territory, which is significant. We're significantly better offensively than we were last season. I don't think anyone, you could have pulled 100 Broncos fans. I want to say at least 90 came into the season saying our defense is going to be good. This is the one thing that I could look at and at least be safe. Maybe we need some more pressure on the line. Of course, get some guys that can pressure the quarterback. Other than that, we're good. Kawan goes down. You have Baron Browning coming to the season injured. It's just a lot of things just start to go wrong with us. And now we can't stop a nosebleed. Now our defense is the worst in the league. I don't think anybody saw us being the worst unit in football. I get where you're coming from, though. I do. It's just tough to sit here and think Javonte, his knee, that's just been it's the reason why Javonte is not the same, is because that injury has to be lingering. He's just not that same guy that we thought he would be, that he showed us flashes his rookie season. It's just hindsight's so clear, and it's tough to sit with.
Yeah, and you know what? I agree with you on that. You couldn't predict how bad this defense would be. I was predicting maybe a little bit of a regression, just because, hey, the Broncos defense didn't look all the way the same after Bradley Chubb's trade last year.
For sure.
But this much is crazy. There's not a soul out there that could have predicted this much. This is insane. The Broncos aren't just bad on defense or the worst in the NFL. They're historically bad. These guys got a 70 ball dropped on them. Like that's what's going on for the Broncos defense. Justin Fields, he looks like a new quarterback since he played the Broncos. He looks like the Broncos just resurrected Justin Fields. Like it's wild what's going on with the Broncos defense, and there's no way you could have predicted it to be that bad. I mean, imagine, good on Hackett that he hired Evero, and Evero just happened to be his best man at his wedding, and he hired the homie. But Like,
And the homie ended up being the guy
really
that I
good.
wish desperately was on our unit still.
Yeah, but man, could you imagine the Broncos last year didn't have him? They probably are picking first this year. That defense was really good last year, and I maybe I even am underestimating how good Evero is. Maybe he should be getting a lot of head coach looks this offseason, just looking at how drastic the drop off has been since he left. So yes, I think we went through the uglies though. Do you guys have anything else you want to say before we head up out of here today? No? All right. Hey, Andrew, let the people know where they can find you, man. Like I said, I appreciate you hopping on. I've been a fan of your guys' work for a while now. I watch a ton of your NBA stuff, a ton of your NFL stuff, literally all year long. I highly recommend everyone go check that out.
I appreciate that, guys. First off, I want to shout out you guys for having me on your show. I'm very gracious. I'm very grateful that you guys give me this opportunity. I love being immersed in Broncos country. I understand that we're going through the bad times, but you got to believe that those good times are going to feel good when they come. Hopefully brighter days are to follow and we get out of this misery. But again, shout out to you guys. If you guys want to tune in to the Pick a Side podcast, that's the show that I am on. Again, he already shouted out the socials at Andrew5A's. But again, first and foremost, and lastly, thank you to you guys for having me on.
For sure, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Check out their show. And I don't know. Let's close a little rosy. I do think the future's bright. Step one in the 12-step process is admitting you have a problem. I think they're admitting they have a problem, you know? And I don't know. The one thing that no one has any control over is who's owning your team. You know, if you've got a bad GM, they can be fired by someone. If you have a bad owner, they have to, the NFL couldn't oust Dan Snyder. Okay. If you have a bad owner, you might be screwed indefinitely. The Broncos, I think, have good ownership. The early signs of them not overly meddling, but willing to just pour money into this franchise is very promising. It's what they'll need to get out of this mess quickly. And it happens fast in the NFL. The Broncos are not in as bad a situation as the Texans were in 2020. For sure. Oh my God, the Texans were practically a CFL team for 2 years. It was so dark. And then you have the whole Deshaun Watson cloud hanging over it too.
Yep.
They tear it down. They start focusing on youth. They hit on quarterback. And boom, they're very good chance they're a playoff team this year. I know they're 2-3 right now. God, if I was a Houston Texans fan, I would be ecstatic with life. It'd be incredible. No Broncos can be right there in a hurry. This isn't baseball. This is the NFL. Turnarounds happen like that. Follow Andrew's work. He's great. Again, that's at Andrew. I mixed up your name and the handle, but that's okay. Andrew's work at Andrew. And then follow the Pick a Side podcast. We'll be back here tomorrow night talking Buffs.
Sweet.
See you guys.